Okay. Well, it's now 10:30, so it is showtime. So once again, my name's Clive. I'm going to turn on Jason's microphone. Hi, Jason. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, everybody.
How's the water in there today?
It's a nice, warm, toasty dive here in Palau.
So it's lovely tropical weather in there. Nice and pleasant. So we've got lots of animals there that would hang around in that area. Now, they did tell you, didn't they, that you were going to be swimming with the sharks before you got in?
Yes. We got all these big, scary sharks in here. Oh, right on cue. Here comes one of our sharks there. That's a bonnet head. Looks like a baby hammerhead, but it's actually a bonnet head, which is the smallest of the hammerhead species. So there's actually two of those swimming around in here. You guys will see.
And we've also got another shark, which is heading towards the back to your left and our right. That's the large brown shark, and that is our zebra shark. Now I'm going to ask a stupid question. Oh, there's one right in front of you as well now. I've seen zebras. They don't have spots. Why is it called a zebra shark?
That's a good question. Actually, when they're born, the zebra sharks do actually have stripes, and when they get larger, those stripes pull apart and turn into those spots. So if you guys like to see a baby zebra shark and see those stripes, you guys can go out the Shark Lagoon area, and there's a petting area where you guys can actually touch and feel one of these guys.
That's right. It's well worth going to touch them. How often do you get to touch a shark? So there's bonnethead sharks, there's zebra sharks in there. I've seen the movies. You're not going to get out in one piece, are you?
No. These sharks are pretty docile. They don't associate us with food at all, just like most sharks out in the ocean. We don't live in the ocean, so we're not a food source for any animal out there. It's just a mistaken identity usually. And these guys get pole-fed from the surface, so they don't associate divers with food at all. We're just kind of a big, bubbly, goofy creature in here to them.
Yeah, that's right. Even out in the ocean, the large sharks do tend to keep their distance because you're right, we're an unknown quantity to them. They don't really know what we're about. So, yeah, mistaken identity is very, very rare to get an attack. So the most aggressive animal in here, then, if it's not the sharks, they've just disappeared, except for there is one now down there near the coral. Our most aggressive ones are those golden trevallies.
That's right. So if you guys see these big golden with black stripes on them, they kind of look like tunas or trevally, though. Here comes one right here. It's a schooling fish. These are actually the most aggressive animals in this tank, believe it or not, is this pretty fish right here. Staying in here, especially during feeding time, they get very aggressive. They will actually swoop in and grab the food out of the shark's mouth, believe it or not.
Yeah, and that's why we have to actually have a technique for feeding our animals, isn't it? We don't just throw the food in the top and let everyone help themselves, because it will be those trevallies that eat everything, won't they? So we do have special ways of feeding. Our divers do come in and feed the animals, often by hand, a lot of them, like you mentioned the sharks by pole, because, yeah, those trevallies, they like food and a lot of it. So let's mention a couple of the other animals in here. There's a very interesting large blue fish going around that piece of coral there. That's our Napoleon wrasse. Now, this is an interesting one, isn't it?
That's right. So, yeah, that's actually going to be potentially one of our largest fish here, even though it's really small right now. It's just a juvenile, and these guys can get really large, like several hundred pounds and several feet long. So he's come back in about maybe 30 years, and you'll see a much larger fish.
That's right, including the groupers. If anyone can see right down in our left-hand corner there, we have a Queensland grouper. That's only a young one. Well, young for a grouper. That's about 20, I believe.
That's right, early 20s, so believe it or not, that's still pretty small. Fish, again, some of the large fish live as long as we can, and it takes them a long time to reproduce too, just like us. So these guys, the groupers, maybe the early 20s, a couple hundred pounds, but can live up to 70, 80 years, so that's a long time. So again, come back in 30 years and you'll see a much, much larger fish. It's like going to be swimming next to a small car underwater.
Yeah, they can get up to about 900 pounds, 9 feet. And yes, the very young children here, come along with your grandchildren. You'll see the same animals in about 60 years' time. But hopefully in 60 years' time, actually it's funny you mentioned cars. Hopefully our oceans will be a little bit cleaner. You go diving out in the ocean, don't you? And there are problems out there, aren't there?
Unfortunately, that is true, yes.
Yeah, we have a lot of trash out there. Just last week I was out and I saw a lot of trash, particularly after the rains the week before. Because what you drop out in the streets, doesn't matter if you're inland or not, that makes its way to the ocean. And then, of course, the warming of the waters. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that stinks. I heard you talking about the coral a little bit earlier. So the coral, as you guys all see here, this is all artificial, by the way. This is not real coral. And it is an animal, and it is very sensitive to temperature changes and ocean changes. So the oceans get a little bit warmer and a little bit more acidic. So all that means is it can't quite build its home and survive as well. So if it can't survive, then all the animals that live and use it as a home won't survive either, including us humans. Because again, it kind of acts like a plant does on land. It kind of absorbs that carbon dioxide and gives off oxygen. So it helps us as humans breathe, which is important.
Yeah, that's extremely important. It's easy for us, I suppose, to think that, well, it's in the ocean. If it dies off, how does it affect us? But you're spot on there. The coral, the kelp forest actually provide more oxygen to us than the rainforest. And we all hear about saving the rainforest, don't we? Which is massively important. But the ocean gives us more.
3 out of 4 breaths we take come from the ocean. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and it provides us with food, with leisure, all that stuff. So I think the message here is let's look after it, guys, because without it, we're in trouble. So, yeah, we talked about how we clean up the oceans. How can we really stop that temperature getting too hot in there?
Well, just, we got to do our thing to make sure we reduce global climate as much as we can. So driving a little bit less, just using public transportation, just turning off that light switch. Every little bit can kind of help. So even though these exhibits and stuff are thousands of miles away, all the oceans are interconnected. So what we do affects them, and what they do affects us.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, those car emissions do cause a lot of problems. But yeah, I'm quite hopeful because certainly electric car technology is really coming on leaps and bounds now. So I've got faith that we can do it, which is fantastic. Now, I should say, Jason, you are a volunteer in there, aren't you? You're there because you love it.
That's right. I'm one of about 160 or so dive volunteers here. So we do all kinds of fun stuff. You'll see my buddies around the corner here. They're cleaning. And I get to talk to you guys, and we get to feed some of the animals. But most importantly, we got to keep an eye on everybody here. There is a lot of animals. Believe it or not, 13,000 animals here at the aquarium. And there's only one vet for all of them. So you can imagine he needs as much help as he can, keeping an eye on everybody. So if we see any animals that are sick or injured or just not acting right, we got to let the right people know about us so we can take care of them.
That's right. All of those are massively important jobs. It's funny you mentioned the feeding just as your colleague there was coming down with looked like lettuce. Why are we feeding lettuce to these fish? It's not a natural ocean-growing plant, is it?
That's right. Well, we don't provide enough algae in here for all the herbivores. That means the plant-eating fish, so we need to provide that. And it seems like broccoli and romaine is a supplement for that.
Yeah, that's right. So it does provide a lot of those nutrients. We just saw a tiny bit of feeding there. We do, of course, feed a lot of the animals in other ways. An interesting one to feed, and there's one right at the back there. There's our southern stingray. Very large animal, which we hand feed as well at feeding times. But that southern stingray's big, isn't it? We hear about barbs on their tails. Is it aggressive to people, or is that okay?
No, it's quite all right. Yes, they have those barbs, but we trim them just like we trim our fingernails. We can do the same thing with them. But again, they would only use that in defense. And they see divers all the time, so they're certainly not threatened by us at all.
No, that's right. They're actually quite totally non-aggressive, really, to humans. You leave them on their own. They're quite happy to swim around. They've got no problem there. So, we've spoken a lot there about how to look after the ocean, how we look after some of our animals there, and, of course, the voluntary work you do, which is absolutely amazing. And without you guys, there's 170 of you divers. Without you guys, let's face it, we would not be able to run this aquarium. You look out for the animals, you feed them, you clean. So I think that's fantastic. But we are now coming to the end of our time. So, Jason, I want to thank you for talking to us. Are you going to be around for a few minutes if anyone wants a few photos or high fives at the window?
Sure thing. You guys come on down.
That's great. Thank you very much. So, if anyone wants a few photos or go and see Jason at the window, please do go down there. My name's Clive. If you have any questions, come and talk to me and enjoy the rest of your day here at the aquarium. Thank you.